The Let's Talk UVS competitive team had 9 team members competing at the recent Albuquerque Major Regional, and 6 of the 9 were on Air Nick Reagan. This video is going to be the inside story on how the team coalesced around this character and around this unique build. It's going to talk about the differences between the builds and finally where we go from here with Nick Reagan. Okay, how did the 6 team members who played Air Nick Reagan manage to do at the Albuquerque Regional? Well, here are the standings. Ross managed to switch champ, never losing a round. TC and Carson also both made top 8. So Air Nick Reagan's now made up 3 of the top 8. Patrick made top 16. So we also made 4 of the top 16. Joseph made top 32. So we also made 5 of the top 32. And Christos had the worst record of all 6. And he didn't even have a losing record. He still finished in the top 50%. Not a single Air Nick Reagan that was played out of 6 players finished in the bottom 50% at the regional, and not a single one had a losing record. That is absolute insanity and extremely good proof that a deck is broken. So if we combine all these records, we've got a 28, 9, and 5 win rate, and 3 of those 5 draws were intentional draws. So if we just ignore the draws, and we look at 28-9, that is better than a 75% win ratio. That's nuts. That should not be happening. There should be somebody who has some bad matchups, luck doesn't go their way, and everything collapses, and it's just not their regional. You know, we had a lot of very, very good players at Albuquerque. It was probably one of the most try-hard events that I've ever seen. It felt like 80% of the players who were going there with the intent to top cut and win. I mean, you're not really going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, if you're not planning on winning the event. There was very few players there just for fun. Everybody was trying their best, and a lot of very, very good players in the game didn't finish very well in Swiss. So all of the Air Nick Reagans finishing in the top 50%, 75% win percentage. I don't know what more there needs to be for evidence that this deck is broken. So let's talk about the inside story on how the Let's Talk UVS team coalesced around this build, because before this, everybody was mostly focused on the all version of Nick Reagan that Calvin really showcased, and MGLA, I think, showcased pretty well at Denver. And it's a very, very good list. I'm not here to say that Air Reagan is just heads and shoulders better. Air Reagan is just a different flavor. And the reason we went with Air primarily is that it just has a much higher turn 2 kill potential than the all version. At least it did in our minds. So here is the story on how we got there. It started April 6th. You can actually go back and watch where it started. It was on Ace Arena. I was playing, I should have done a better job at picking a face for myself. Here, but this was from my stream of Ace Arena hosted by Sam Tate, or you might know him as Ace Maneuvers. He puts these on about every month or so. I don't think he did one this last month though. Probably is doing them in the future, but on Ace Arena in one of the rounds, I played against TC, my teammate, and he said, "Hey, I've got this Air Nick Reagan list. I'm just playing. It's from one of my locals, George. And I'm just going to see how it runs." It killed me on turn 2 in game 1, and then I managed to win games 2 and 3. And then in the next round, I played Kevin Broberg, who was on all Nick Reagan, and I also managed to win there. And then I lost to Smiling Titan in the finals of Ace Arena. But you can actually go, if you click into my channel and like into the streams, you can go and watch that stream. But this was my first exposure to the Air deck, and I managed to win the round, but it made a pretty good impression on me on how it killed me on turn 2 in game 1. So fast forward now to April 15th. That's a Tuesday. It's team testing night. We typically test on Tuesday evenings, and I'm playing against TC in round 2 or 3 of testing. And he says, "Hey, I think I've made several updates to the Air Nick Reagan, and I think it's in a really, really good spot now with its ratio. So I want to give it some more testing." And I got murdered. So as soon as that round ended, I sent this message. I said, at team member, I said, "My takeaway from testing tonight is that if you are going to Albuquerque and want to win, because, you know, that's important, you need a really, really good reason not to be on TC's list. Dead on turn 2, 3 straight games. Like he just absolutely, there was nothing I could do. He just absolutely murdered me. I was kind of tilted, I was kind of like, hey, run it again. And then I would die. Hey, run it again. And then I would die. And it was like, all right, look, why is everybody not just playing this? And that's why I sent this message. And we really hadn't as a team done this before, where we all kind of focused on one list. We're all very, very opinionated, and everybody likes to play what they want to play. But I was just trying to say, look, if you have a deck that is so-so and you like you just need a really good reason not to be playing this list, convince us why you're not playing it. And we didn't have everybody playing it. I mean, Drew won the event on King Ghidorah. Elijah got top 16 with his Air Deku, and that was actually had a really good matchup into Air Nick Reagan, but we can talk more about that later, maybe in our testing. Fast forward to April 19th, my brother brought it and had never played it, but he just sleeved it up for our Stormcrow local championship. We had 13 players for this event. This was the one where I played Mikasa, and then I made a video because I got second place in it where I talked about my Mikasa list. You can go back in my videos and look at that. We had 13 players. Stormcrow, these events are pretty sweaty. They're not overly sweaty, but like Aaron Cook, who just got top 8 at Albuquerque, plays at our locals. Caden, who got top 4 at Denver and got top 16 with his crazy Tendy deck in Albuquerque, also plays with us. And a lot of other great players. Jordan, Ozzy, Dayton, lots of other great players who have been playing a long time. So it's no easy event, but Patrick, without ever playing the deck before, took it to a first place finish. So, and then Ross said people started winning their local championships with it. It was just kind of like, look, if you pick it up, you're going to win. So then late April through early May, we really started testing the list and trying to hone the list, trying to perfect it. And so we made a channel specifically to create different kinds of Air Nick Reagans. And then we made a channel for like people building lists that they think could beat the Air Nick Reagan. And the Air Deku, the Prison Deku, that it's quite a bit different from like the MGLA Deku that I think a deck profile was done on. Elijah got top 16 with it. Probably should have made top 8. But, the matchup gods, sometimes things don't go your way. Okay, so let's talk about TC's list. That was just kind of like how we found the list and how everybody started playing it. And then everybody kind of had different flavors on it. It wasn't like we were all on the exact same list. It was the exact same core idea, but everybody took different spins on it. So let's take a look at the different spins. This was TC's list. And if I just show you this list, that doesn't say a whole lot, right? This is like 120 cards, and it's pretty difficult to pick up on all the nuances here. So I'm going to take you through the kind of core ideas of the list. First off, keep a clean card pool. Everything in here is about winning on turn 2. We don't care at all about defense. It's just winning on turn 2. And so we need to be constantly clearing our card pool. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that with Warp Gate Portal into Sniping Spy. That is the bread and butter of the deck. We're going to hit Warp Gate Portal off of Nick Reagan, copy the enhance for our next form, and then we're going to play this Sniping Spy. We're going to clear our other attack and get some damage and just keep going. Sometimes you can even like double Sniping Spy, like you play attack, then find a Warp Gate Portal, play your Sniping Spy, clear, and then you Nick Reagan, find another Sniping Spy, use that to clear another, and you clear 2 cards. Schoolyard Smackdown is just another way of clearing. So if we hit Sniping Spy or Schoolyard Smackdown by removing the top 8 with Air Nick Reagan, we can also clear. Schoolyard Smackdown, sometimes that powerful 2 matters. Sometimes changing the zone of +1/+1 matters. Also, we're playing a lot of 2 and 1 checks. That makes Sniping Spy get more damage because it's 5 minus the check value of the cleared card. So this is the bread and butter of the deck. Keep our card pool clear. Then we're going to find attacks. We're a 5-hander, but we want to be playing 9 attacks on turn 2. So how are we going to find 9 attacks if we only draw 2 to start our turn? Well, Electric Moth, we can discard 1, draw 3. Anytime we hit Death from Above, we get to draw 2 cards. World's Weakest Hunter. If it hits, which most people don't want to block this tiny 7-speed move. And if they do block it, they're probably dead because they blocked it. Then you get to draw 3. And then combined with Warp Gate Portal, which is basically pseudo draw because you're going to go find another attack. So lots of ways to find attacks in our foundation base. We also have Latent Skill, Supersonic Flight. We're almost never playing Supersonic Flight to build. It's purely there because when you remove 8, you get to draw a card off of Supersonic. And then Fearsome Transformations, who cares if you don't have momentum? It's just a filter one. Then we're going to keep a healthy stage. So not only are we clearing our card pool, we need to keep a lot of ready foundations. We're going to do this with cards like Lightning Rod. If we hit it, we get to build 2 in. There was a game in testing where I built 1 on turn 1, and it was a loot box because I checked the Warp Gate portal on my second foundation. And then I killed somebody. I dealt over 40 damage on turn 2 off of 1 foundation. Because I checked a 5 on my attack, I used loot box, I got another foundation, I hit a lightning rod, I built 2, I then played a lightning rod, I built 2 more. By the end of the turn, I had like 6 foundations. I think at one point, like I invisible infiltrationed the loot box back, which is another cool thing. Invisible infiltration is going to get you back your best foundation and effectively ready something. Dark Interruption means we can check from our hand. It's also another draw, so it kind of goes into the find attacks category. But you're almost always copying the bottom enhance if you hit it with Nick Reagan, and then you play a healthy amount of 6 checks, and now you can guarantee your checks. Then we got things like Loot Box, Incompatible Quirks. This is the only defense in the deck, but it's not there for the defense. It's there to be 3 or 4 or 5 foundations on your turn. Cards like Weightless and Mother's Embrace, Capture the Target, any spam foundation that can ready something, we're going to be playing. Answers to answers. Okay, so if you're going to top a regional and then do pretty well in top cuts, you've got to have answers to those control decks. And like I said, I had personally played the deck a lot into the Air Prison Deku, where it was like Nonagons and cheerleaders and shutdowns and Deku himself flashing something. I mean, it was absolutely miserable, very difficult to push through. So needed stage answers to these things. And that's where Chimera Kraken and Frog Strike came in. Originally, the list only had Chimera Kraken, and then very quickly, everybody on the team realized Frog Strike was just a must play. It's basically just mini Kraken. You know, Kraken is our only asset hate in the deck, also commit and freeze something. And then Frog Strike, Frog Strike's just very versatile. It's definitely not as good as Kraken in terms of stage control. But you can seal 1, or you can get the 3 damage, or you can get the deadlock on it. So Frog Strike just became absolutely essential to the deck. And what we took out to make room for Frog Strike is the original build of this was playing 1 for all 8%. It very quickly became apparent that this attack actually kind of stunk. It was a stinker. Even though you were clearing your card pool a lot, it was just a pure stats card. And it's just that Frog Strike is doing so much more to win you the game. 8% did not feel like a game winner. So it got the axe in pretty much everybody's list. Okay, and then you just need a metric ton of spam foundations. We're playing 1 and 2 checks, and so you need that consistent turn 1 build if you're going to then kill on turn 2. So it doesn't even matter. Like Ready for Rematch doesn't even do anything, but it checks a 6, which is good for Dark Interruption, so some lists were running it. Life of Danger, let's kind of shore up our checks, and it's a 0 def. Mother's Embrace, we're just looking to play spam foundations. Very, very few 2 difficulty foundations. And like I said, we were playing Supersonic Flight, but not to build. It was to draw. So there you go. That's the core idea of the list. Keep our card pool clear. We're going to add +2/+2 to everything. We're going to play 9 attacks because we just find them all. And then we're going to have a healthy stage. And then if you have anything that's going to get in our way, we're just going to seal it or commit and freeze it. Okay, so let's talk about Ross's list. That was TC's list, and TC did the best. He had the most practice on it, definitely, from the team. He got top 4. Honestly, if you go back and watch him and Drew's match, TC made like 5 misplays. I think if TC had played optimally, he wins that round. Or he at least takes one of the games and sends it to game 3. Who knows? Maybe Drew wins game 3. But they had tested that quite a bit, and TC tended to be winning in testing, but for whatever reason that day, TC just made some misplays that were very uncharacteristic of him. Still did great, though, to get to top 4. Okay, let's talk about Ross's list. Ross was Swiss champ, and he made some pretty big deviations from TC's list. He was not playing Warp Gate Portal. He didn't want the 1 check. And instead, he's playing Grenadier Blast. So something about the air version is we're playing lots of attacks, but we're not adding massive stats to them. These are typically like 7, 8 damage moves. And that can make Air Reagan pretty susceptible to massive DR characters like Grog, because you're really counting on that +2/+2 mattering, and then Grog just says that the 2 damage doesn't matter. and it can be quite difficult to work your way through the DR. Now, other characters typically don't get their damage reduction ready enough on turn 2, but Grog just always has it on his character. So to help with the damage issue a little bit, Ross put in Grenadier Blast. Destroy 1 ready foundation, double this attack's damage. So if like Ross played a Frog Strike, for example, he could give it 3 damage. Now it's at 7 damage. Then you air Reagan. That's going to get it to 9 damage. Then you find your Grenadier Blast. You double it. Now it's 18 damage. And it also has this Deadlock. Your rival destroys 4 foundations. And you're improving a 1-check to a 2-check. Now that comes at some serious consistency costs of not having Warp Gate Portal. So Ross was running a higher attack ratio compared to everybody else. And one of the attacks that he added in, since he upped his attack ratio, was Sweeping Daggers. He was really big on 4Xing this. And I agree with him for what it's worth. Sweeping Daggers is just crazy. To me, it's the best attack in the game. 5 mid 4, remove something. You know, if you're in like against the all Nick Reagan, you can just remove their true 100% and say, thank you very much for playing good attacks. I think I'll take that. So he was playing 4X Sweeping Daggers. He's also playing like Growing Unease. Like it's a 2 difficulty. But again, he's not playing the 1-check. So he can run a little higher 2 difficulties and it just helps him with the draw. And he's going to depend a little bit more on the draw without the Warp Gate Portal. And then he was playing Ryukyu Agency Trainees, which TC was the only one of the team that didn't get behind Ryukyu Agency Trainees by the time of the event. He probably should have at least sideboarded them in instead of just siding random characters. But everybody else on the team pretty much got behind Ross' suggestion here and started playing 3 or 4X Ryukyu Agency Trainees. It really gets you around Breaker. So if somebody's going to barrier shield you and say Breaker 2, you just say, okay, I'll just build a foundation for my hand. You know, I'll build this loot box for my hand. Thank you for letting me build this. There was a game that Patrick played where he had to fight through like a Ghidorah that managed to like Breaker 12 over the course of the turn. And he had a couple agency trainees that really helped him play through it. He ended up being on like a check of 5 to win, check to 3. So what can you do? But, yeah, that's the purpose of agency trainees in the deck. And then we had Carson's list, who also made top 8. And Carson's list was playing a mixture of like Ross's and TC's, so there's not much unique about it compared to those two. But he was playing Aerial Goblin Bolt, and this is a card that I love, love, love in the list. It's more of that stage control in addition to Frog Strike and Kraken. We get to seal a rival foundation, although this is not copyable off of the Reagan remove 8 because it's a blitz and not an enhance. So it is blank for Reagan's enhance, and there's only so many blank of attacks that you can play. So you have to really pick and choose your spots. It's kind of similar to Sweeping Daggers in that regard of these are blanks, but also has this response flip after a blitz or enhance ability is played, cancel it. And then what makes this really cool is that we can flip it to cancel something, and then we can play Sniping Spy, clear it, and get 5 damage because a face down card is deemed to have a check value of 0. So really liked adding in the 1x Aerial Goblin Bolt here, and then he had 3x more in the side just in case there was a game where he needed a lot of stage control. Okay, then let's talk about my list. I didn't play, I was on commentary, but I would have played Air Nick Reagan if I did. And my deck had quite a few differences actually from the others. I tried to get Christos to play my deck, but he chickened out at the last minute, and then he finished in last place of the 6 Air Reagans that played it. So that's what he gets for not joining in on it. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, I was not playing World's Weakest Hunter. Guys, I'm such a hater of this card. If there is one hater in the world of World's Weakest Hunter, it's me. It's a blank on Air Nick Reagan, and like I was just saying, there's only so many of those blanks that you can play. I was not having an issue in my testing of finding attacks. Like that was just never, ever a big deal. Between the Warp Gate Portals, the Electric Moths, the Death from Above, latent skills, it just wasn't an issue. So I didn't want to play this blank thing for Reagan's Enhance. I guess you could copy the EX3, but how often does the EX3 matter on turn 2 of the game? And so I would much rather play a combination of Aerial Goblin Bolt and Sweeping Daggers. Okay. Then I was also playing Get In, Get Out for a little bit extra clear for my stage. I really didn't mind playing some extra 2 difficulties. I guess I just tend to play on turn 1 like unafraid. You know, if I check it, I check it. What can you do? It probably won't check it though. So, and then I was also playing Jump Into Action. I was playing less of the blank 6 checks. I wanted all my foundations to be doing things. So all of my spam foundations had a purpose. I was definitely not playing things like Stoic Enmity that were just completely blank other than being a 6. I liked jump into action because I could build it. And then anytime I found Dark Interruption, I could add this to my hand, build something down, get a little bit extra damage, which the deck needed a little bit of extra damage. And then I have the 6 check in hand for the check. Then I was playing Support of Your Friends. I just absolutely love this action. It removes itself. If you check a 2 or a 1 on this, just fail it. It's not a turn ender. It's a response. It's not a form. So before your attacks block step, it gets +2/+2. I loved when people would pour resources into trying to block something, and then the extra +2 speed just makes it unblockable. And now not only did they take the damage, but they also wasted their speed hate. Or they're not going to block, and it's just an extra 2 damage. Really, really liked the sneak attack nature of this action. Sometimes you could use the form draw 2, if you were in a pinch and didn't have the attacks in hand. I was just playing a couple of it. I was finding it very, very useful in my testing. Nobody else really got on board with me about it, though. So that was my list and what I would have played. I also was messing around with this other list where I was like using Luna to harass because I was like, well, with all of this card pool clear, this thing can become like a 2 difficulty attack, and then we can add on some more card pool clear. Like maybe instead of Ryukyu Agency Trainees, we use something like Gene's Provoking Stubbornness, which can sometimes Ryukyu Agency Trainees is blank. Well, Provoking Stubbornness is never blank. It can just give 3 damage to the next thing. We could also play Lethal Slashes. We're already playing a million 1s and 2s. What's another one? It's just going to give us another bite at the apple of the Nick Reagan enhance. It's a blank, so you have to kind of take out Aerial Goblin Bolt or Sweeping Daggers or something to put this in. But then all of these would just kind of fuel Luna to harass because they're cards that are leaving the card pool. And Luna is just like this 9 damage throw. Sometimes you can just Warp Gate into a 9 damage throw to win the game. This list was doing pretty well, but ultimately I kind of shelved it. My brother Patrick was also on a list where he was playing things like Science Bros and Tinker Shot, to where it gets like +1/+1 removes. He was playing something else that had some effect when it got removed. The point of this is to say that it wasn't like we all coalesced around the exact same Nick Reagan list. Everybody still put their own flavor into the deck. Everybody kind of messed with the ratios, but most everybody was on about 110 to 120 cards, and we all had the kind of core attacks of the Sniping Spy, Frog Strike, Electric Moth, Death from Above. All of that was lots of spam foundations. That was all very, very similar. So what happens next? So we built this list, absolutely dominated the event. Kind of surprised Nick Reagan didn't win, but I'm also very happy for Drew winning. I mean, he's just him, But what's next for Nick Reagan? Well, we have the OCE Regional this weekend. If you're a U.S. player, it's May 30th and 31st. If you're in the OCE region and you're actually a player, I think it's May 31st and June 1st. But because of the time zone difference, it kind of happens on a different day for us. So I'm going to be on commentary for that as well. Come and tune in if you want to hear more of me and if you want to check out these awesome players and see what they've got. There were a lot of OCE players at Worlds that actually came and traveled to the United States. So all of them would have Nick Reagans. I'm not sure if the others in the region would have Nick Reagans, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Nick Reagan this upcoming weekend. And then we have the ban and errata list June 3rd, and I'm going to put it at a 90% chance that Nick Reagan gets eroded. If he doesn't get eroded, I don't know what they're doing over there. Like full stop. This character in its current form needs to be eroded, in my opinion. If they keep Nick Reagan around, all right, I'll just play it in Louisville. It's no fun to play. It's terrible shuffling it. The 100+ card deck every time you warp gate. It's not a fun play experience, like full stop. But if they don't errata it, I'll play it because I want to play what wins. And this just has a free matchup on turn 2 70+% of the time. Right. And then the other times you can get yourself into a win. Like we were seeing in TC's game against Drew. I was talking with Sam on commentary, and Sam was like, I don't see how Drew possibly loses this. And then TC on like 4 foundations proceeds to play 9 attacks, just absolutely obliterates all defense, that Drew has available to him, and then ended up being, if he had remembered his 0-diff flip for +2 damage, or if he didn't just full blank on a Nick Reagan enhance and had found anything damage, he would have won the game. Like, just absolutely steamrolled through a huge King Ghidorah wall, and we saw that King Ghidorah wall hold against Travis in the finals. So, yeah, I think there's a 90% chance he gets eroded. But we could see more of Nick Reagan for OCE. I think, if you're a player in the OCE region and you want to win, I think you should take Air Nick Reagan. So let's talk about some possible erodas. They could errata this to twice per turn. That's the easiest. Twice per turn, it's not an issue. You can get some very, very powerful enhances off. I mean, what makes Reagan so powerful right now is that your cards can be doing 2 very powerful things, and most of the times your attacks only do 1. So you can play a card like Sniping Spy that's a clear card. It's a very powerful clear card, but now it also hits Lightning Rod and builds 2. Or now it also hits Electric Moths and discards 1, draws 3, or discards 1, draw 2. So now it's not only a powerful clear card, it's also a powerful draw card. And you're doing this on every single attack. So all of your attacks are doing dual purposes. You could also just say attack card with a check value of 3. This keeps the all version of Nick Reagan alive and healthy. And that version is very, very strong. It's not unbeatable. But now it basically kills the Sniping Spy Warp Gate Portal version. Or you could just say remove the top 4. Right now, Air Nick Reagan tends to blank, I would say 1 out of every 6 times if you made it top 4. Now, Reagans are not allowed to be playing most of these Blitz cards. You're probably not allowed to be playing Weakest Hunter, Sweeping Daggers, Aerial Goblin Bolt, etc. You have to only play cards with enhances, which they're not really making many of those anymore. And then it just is going to up that blank rate quite a bit. So any of these 3 keeps the character somewhat playable, definitely knocks it down a couple notches in competitive play. But they would all be good fixes. I'm curious, if you have a different idea of how you would errata Nick Reagan, you tell me. And by the way, none of this should be a knock on the player Nick Reagan. He is awesome. One of the pillars of the community. I think that this character is very, very cool. Design space. I think the art on this is awesome. He was on Team Unfun Stuff, and they had this unicorn as their logo, and so him on the unicorn, he's got the cube in his hand because he's always wanting to play cube with people, where he has cards from all eras of the game. I love the moon in the background, the coloration of the art. None of this is knock on the player. It's just that the character ended up being a little too overpowered, and that happens from time to time. It happens with characters in sets, younger Toguro, Ojiro 2. It just is what it is. So I think we need a small errata on him. And that's it. Yeah, that is how we managed to break this character. And he was already broken, for the record, and the all version was very, very good. But this air version, I felt like really, really showed the power of this character. The power that you are 10 times more likely to find Warp Gate Portal than check it. You are 10 times more likely, because you will remove 8, and you get to draw your hand size, and you get all this draw. So the odds of you finding Warp Gate Portal are so much higher than checking Warp Gate Portal that it's just nuts. And just playing 9 attacks, giving everything +2/+2, which is solid 5-hander stats. It felt like it just took this character and then took it to the next level. And then all the shuffling too is a problem, and maybe we're going to have more of this in the future with cards like Resurrected Titans and Colossal Confrontation. I personally think that when we have selective tutors in this game, it should always come from the discard pile and not from your deck. Maybe not always, Peak might be fine with Anti-Titan Artillery, but 99% of the time it should be searching your discard pile and not forcing a shuffle. Because if you're shuffling a 100 card deck several times in the middle of the game, you're talking about 5 to 6 minutes just getting wasted. And then everybody gets upset because, hey, you're not shuffling well enough. It's not truly random. Well, if you want a truly random, that's going to take 5+ minutes because it's 100 cards. And most people want it, pace of play to keep up. But then if you try and shuffle it within 2 minutes, maybe it's not truly random. I don't know. There's just all sorts of shuffling issues with the deck. And I'm not going to deny that. That's a big reason why Ross took out Warp Gate Portal. He just didn't want to deal with it. He didn't want to in real life be shuffling it. Then the cards go everywhere. Now there's a judge call and a game loss. Yeah, but the Nick Reagan deck, it's way too consistent on turn 2, and you can see it in the results here where we had a 75% win percentage. But it was fun. This was the first time as a team that we really coalesced around one list. So that was a good experience, honestly. It was a fun time preparing the lists, debating with each other on various changes to make, testing it over and over and over again. I don't know if we'll find a list that we do this with for Louisville. Right now, we're certainly still all over the place. I've been testing a lot of Peak. And I'll be honest, I've been surprised how much fun I've been having with Peak. I'm already tired of, and I'm kind of rambling at this point. You've probably already turned it off. But everything I said in my infinity symbol video, I pretty much stand behind times 100 right now. I am so tired of unyielding. I am so tired of military airship. I'm so tired of Filled with Doubt and these infinity symbol cards. But that being said, I've been surprised by how much fun I'm having with Peak. That character is so cool. Getting to selectively manipulate damage, manipulate speed, build. You get this stage where you're putting in you can flip military tactics or build attacks off of your deck and then play cards that add the attacks to your hand. There's so many buttons to press that it's a really good time playing Peak. And I didn't expect it. For a character that I think is so strong, typically they're not as fun to play. But with Peak, I'm having an absolute blast. And I'll probably be playing Peak for a while. I thought I was going to be all over the new Mikasa, which I've had fun with too. But with Peak, I feel like I'll be here for at least several more weeks, testing like crazy and probably playing at my locals. So, some good things, some ugly things. 9 Titans. How in the world was that not unique? This Hanj 1 list is kind of crazy. Getting to have multiple 9 Titans that you're not allowed to attack. And then it's just like, well, I hope you have Animus Shot in your deck, to have an answer for it. So there's just some quick takes about early Attack on Titan deck building. I've been having a lot of fun too, almost as much with Allura. Allura has gotten so much better this set that it's crazy. And that character is fun to me. I'm thinking about picking up a Chrome Rare Allura. We'll see if I make the decision to spend up for it. But Nick Reagan had a pretty good event. Is he miserable? Yes, he's miserable. I hope he's eroded. And by the way, if he's eroded on June 3rd, then the June 7th webcam event, that will enforce the erodas. So technically for UVS official events, it won't be enforced for like a week or something, but we're an unofficial event. We can do what we want and we're going to enforce the erodas. So if you're planning to play Nick Reagan for the webcam event, you might want to think again. 90% chance he gets eroded in my mind. All right, guys, that is going to be it for me. I appreciate all of you. If you haven't done so, like this video, leave a comment, subscribe. If you want to support me, I have a Buy Me a Coffee page, yada, 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 all those things. Everything helps the algorithm. I'm going to do something big when I hit 1,000 subscribers. We're going to do some big giveaway or something. I might announce that here pretty soon. But I'll see you guys next time.